And I think we're live. All right. You see it live on your end?
I'm looking here, yeah.
Okay, cool. What's up, everyone? We have another information-packed live planned ahead exclusively for group members. This is the launch of our new group feature, which connects you to our entire network here, 8,000 plus members now. And we feature your business, do a live interview, collaboration, share your story, your knowledge, bring more value to the group members here. And as more value to you, we have one of our leading administrators, Courtland, who is an expert in many facets of business, particularly marketing and website design, and not just website design. If you've ever been in website creation, you should know there's so much more science and research that goes into creating the perfect customer experience without even talking to your customers. Definitely a great guy to connect with. His info will be in the comments. Courtland will be diving in and telling you website secrets, how to get results, and one more personal item. Actually, I've known Courtland for a little bit. He has a knack for knowing a lot of people and networking, and if there's a problem he doesn't know how to fix, he knows someone that does. And I highlight this because partnerships are priceless in your journey. They can really pave the path for your business and your network. But first things first, with a quick intro and word from our sponsors. Finance for Individuals and Businesses began with a vision, a community where like-minded people and individuals could gather on social media to share their passions for a brighter future. Our mission is simple: to foster growth and development. We believe everyone has the potential to succeed, and we're here to support that journey. This is our community of leaders and visionaries, and as we learn, grow, and build a brighter future together. But back to reality, I'm here with Courtland. I met Courtland several years ago, and we partnered up on a handful of problems together, and it's actually been really cool watching him grow. The main thing I've talked to him about in the past is partnerships and website experience. Again, website experience is not just website design or throwing something on Wix or GoDaddy or something like that. It's not like a plug and play template. But yeah, it's just not that simple. He helped me grow my website ranking, presence, customer experience, and even before talking to my potential clients, from over a personal decade of getting clients from B2B and B2C sales, I can tell you that warm referrals are easily the easiest and best clients, and a website can easily do that for you if done correctly. I could honestly keep on going, but I want Courtland to take over for a bit, share his experience, knowledge. How you doing, Courtland?
Doing excellent, Ryan. Thanks again, man. It's awesome to have this. It's definitely different. Sorry for the dark room. It's the only way to get my face to even kind of show up with the temporary office I'm in my house. Right. So believe me, it's sunny outside, but here in Houston, it's probably going to rain in like an hour. So who knows?
And flood.
And then flood, and then it'll be 90, and then we'll have, you know how it is, man.
Yeah. Not too far from you, but we don't have to deal with too many of the floods. But I know with website design, how'd you get into website design?
Man, so it's funny. This is not my background at all. I have not worked marketing for another company. I've not done anything like that. So I started getting into digital marketing when I was actually in pharmaceuticals. So I was a pharmaceutical rep for nearly 10 years. And as anybody that knows or has friends in that industry, when you start to get a good groove, the job becomes a lot easier. They pay really, really well. And when you know your doctors and you know your drug and you know your routes and you know everything, you tend to start finding more free time. And I don't know very many reps that don't have a second business or start a side hustle or do some sort of consulting on the side because your time allows for it. So doing what every good rep does, was tuned in. And then I said, you know what? I wanted to try something. I've always wanted to be in the world of something digital or online. I originally tried to go to school to do database management, found out I can't code. I can't do any of that. Like I wanted to be, I pictured myself like working for cybersecurity and doing all this fun stuff. Yep, can't code. Yeah, that was immediate fail. But I always knew I wanted to be somewhere in that arena. And so my journey actually started like a lot with YouTube University. I went in and was looking at different, businesses you can run after hours, things like that. And then sure enough, I came upon a guy that talked about something I'd heard about called Rank and Rent, which is a form of lead generation where you build digital assets and you then create leads that you then pass off to business owners that are willing to pay for them. I thought that sounded like a pretty good thing. You've got to learn how to build some stuff out. They always talked about it being a long drawn out process. And I'm like, well, I have the time, I can self-fund it. So it sounds easy because you just need a laptop and, a couple of signups with WordPress or a host, and you go from there. And it kind of stayed a side hustle for a couple of years. And then I went full on into it, and kind of by choice and kind of by not. The pharmaceutical industry, you would think post-COVID, everybody's doing hunky-dory. Some of them did, some of them didn't. So after 2 layoffs in 3 years, it was just, I was like, you know what, I've got this. I've already had a couple of clients. I'd already started doing some consulting on what a website structure looks like. And even though it's still green, I wanted to really go in. So I've been full on in officially 2.5 years in April. I'll be did Red Fox Digital Media, my company, with that. So it started as I think I'll just do this on the side to, you know what, I'm going to do this on, because the best part is it's not easy. I will say that, especially when you're doing a lot more and then you're trying to figure out who to delegate what to. That is the difficult part. That, and you're having to sell patience, because the marketing I like to do takes a little bit longer, because you're dealing with assets out there that weren't that great to start out with. So you've got to figure out how to make them better as quick as possible. And then, talking about how to improve somebody's business, somebody else's livelihood, whether it be a side hustle or their full time, it doesn't matter. Home services to people that are, doing, maybe they've got their insurance license. And so maybe they're doing some life and some health on the side while they're doing real estate, or all the different things. We live in the biggest gig economy of all time. So there's a lot of people doing something because they're trying to figure out, hey, is this something I want to go full time, or do I just want to keep it to the side? So I figured, well, people have to know what you're doing, whether that's on your social medias or online in general. So what better way to position myself into something? And a lot has changed in 2 years, a lot, and on how everybody works and how Google works and Facebook and all of it. So it's been a journey. I'm never bored. I will say that, never bored. There's always something new.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's always something to research or do. It's what it seems like.
Yeah.
So I don't have a background in websites or anything, but you helped me kind of understand it. And like there are some things that were kind of a revelation, which shouldn't have been as late as they were. One of them was even something as simple as keywords.
Yeah.
So the word keywords, people hear that all the time in website building, or whenever they're doing websites or they want to make a website, they hear all about keywords. And without like ruining it, you want to go and explain kind of like what keywords are and why they're so important?
Yeah, so keywords,
and we could talk about this forever. Don't get me wrong. Just
keywords in and of itself could be a hour-long talk. It really could, because it's the basis, it's the foundation of whatever it is that you do and however it is you're trying to get that seen by people online. Right. Even in my world, keyword research is probably the thing that takes the longest. It really does. Even when unless you've got, you are so specialized and so niched down that everything, and you're still learning here and there, but you're like, hey, listen, when I launch this, we know we need these top 10 keywords, these locations, these areas. And keywords is just a fancy, it's a really technical term, I guess you could say, for the service you provide or the thing you are trying to grab attention from. So if you, a health insurance person, yes, you do health insurance. Health insurance in and of itself is a keyword. But what are the other sub keywords of health insurance? So self-employed insurance, group protections, things like that. Like all the different subcategories, those are all keywords.
Individual health insurance, family health
Exactly.
insurance, business health insurance. Those are all the keywords that we went after.
Mm-hmm. And those are the big top of the funnel ones, right? Like those are the broad, we call them broad keywords, right? Or just a broad scope. Then you start niching down to the more fun, the pillar content, all the information that really gets it down to bringing in, answering questions, things like that, the keywords and the keyword structure, and then long tail keywords, which are basically long questions, and long tail keyword phrases. And so now you can get into keyword phrases, like what are people searching for? How do you position yourself to capture that search content?
And it all stems from what people are searching for. Mm-hmm. That's what keywords are. It's what people type into Google. Some people are going to type buy health insurance. Some mm-hmm. people are going to type in best health insurance. Some people are going to type in just something completely different, something you would never think of. So it's always good to do research and kind of figure out which of the kind of broader or more niche keywords there are. Because obviously there's stuff that you would think might be normal, but isn't normal on the internet. It's not as common as you would think. On my website, we were thinking about doing get health insurance. That was one of the keywords on one of the pages. Instead, we changed it to buy health insurance. Mm-hmm. It's more geared towards getting results, but also being very direct. So you're coming here to buy health insurance. This is not free health insurance or anything like that you get through the government. This page is for buying health insurance. So there's not much confusion. But the best practices was kind of how I understood keywords a little bit better. Where you have the keyword in the title and you have the keyword in the subtitles or the headers, the H1, H2, H3. Mm-hmm. They don't have to be in every single one, but obviously it's a whole lot better the more you have. But if you have too many of them, it gets flagged. I'm trying to remember what the percent is.
If you're keyword stuffing, which a lot of people do, like on your Google business profile. You get slapped around a little bit by Google for keyword stuffing. They can see that you're obviously trying to push something just to rank. And even with the newest core update that Google did 7 days ago, 6 or 7 days ago, it's probably one of the biggest core updates they've ever done ever since. They always name them funny ones, right? The big one that they did a while back was called Penguin. That was several years ago, and it really disrupted. It disrupted the rank and rent industry. It disrupted how SEO was done because it was one of the first big updates to fight.
Why did
it was spam?
Okay.
Yeah,
I was going to ask.
This newest one is solely around. If you could sum up the core update they're doing now, is one, they're testing, as everybody's noticed in search. There's now that generative AI testing to see what kind of responses they're going to get. You're starting to see that over organic rankings. So they're wanting to really put quality content. If you wanted to name one thing about this update, quality content. They are punishing low quality search result based content bad. So if you are purely writing blogs, articles, information,
500 word stuff.
Yeah. Well, and not even really from a length perspective, you can write a quality 500, 750, 2-sentence. If you're answering a question, one of the biggest things that we saw was if somebody's asking a question and you take 350 words to not answer it, you're getting in trouble. Whereas before, as long as you structured the content properly, and as long as you put in enough keywords that made it sound like an answer, kind of like a politician, they'll answer around the question, but they're not going to answer the question. Google is now saying, no, if you don't answer the question, we're going to push it down. So if somebody's asking, how much does, what kind of health insurance do I need as a person without a job or a person that works for myself? And you can say you have many different options and you list them out and you list out the answer itself. You're going to be rewarded for that. If you're a real estate agent who says, what is the what are my lending options, or who can I speak to about these things in this area? And let's say, like for my example, there's two very giant property developments here called Town Lake and Bridgeland. So if somebody comes in and says, what are the schools like in Bridgeland? Because they have their own school district essentially within Cy-Fair. And a real estate agent comes in and answers that or puts that in, you're going to see that put in. Or if you have that on your website, commonly known as an FAQ, if you know how to structure those well, those will populate because somebody's asking a relevant question and you're giving a specific enough answer to say, well, there's a lot of different factors, but they include, even if it's generalized, if you have to say, well, there's like 9 different answers to that question, give them the 9 different answers. You can summarize them. You can still answer the question though. And so that was the newest update, was just really trying to push. They want you to push quality content. Google also wants you to pay them a little bit more money for you to stay above because, starting to see more stuff from Reddit pop up. And they said, oh, no, it has nothing to do with the fact that.
That is interesting to see.
Yeah, no, well, Reddit and Google have an agreement now, a very large multi-million-dollar agreement. But no, that has nothing to do with why they're populated. There's plenty of other forums, but, Reddit's the one. And, because they're like, well, it's authoritative content. Answers a question directly. Okay, yes, I can see that because there is a lot of information. I've gotten stuff from Reddit that was answered for me. So I get that, and that's good. That's never changed though. Like those were always things that could be there because they are direct answers. They're just getting pushed to the forefront again because Google is still a for-profit company, right? But in going back to what you said earlier about the structure of a site, you got into a very technical part, which is the content, headline, H1s, H2s, things like that. Just to take a step back from that, those are for if you don't know, and when you're setting your site up, that is the biggest area that people mess up when they're doing a site, is properly structured H1s, headlines, headline 1s, headline 2s. Headline 1 should be the main thing of that site. So for like a homepage, it is your main service. And if you're location based, in your area. If you're more of a national thing, you can go national. I wouldn't recommend it unless you've got the money. But that is, you are now telling somebody, you're telling Google and somebody, this is what I do and this is where I do it.
Yeah. That was, sorry to interrupt, but that was one big thing that was a little eye-opening to me. I didn't really understand it until someone told it to me, but it was that Google, you cannot tell Google how you want it to read. Google has to read it and try and understand it by itself without you assisting it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea.
Yeah. It's a machine.
Yeah.
And just like anything else,
I had to hear it in that perspective to really understand how to lay out a page so Google can read it, so it knows which customers to even share it with.
Correct. And but you have to lead Google down that path. Yeah. So what we see oftentimes a lot, because one of the features that I like to do is come back and say, hey, I'm starting to offer what's called free on-page optimization. Essentially saying, give me your main service, your main keyword, and we'll go through and we'll look at the structure of your site. Granted, I prefer WordPress, and we can get into that too. There is preferential treatment, and Google even states it, where the preferential treatment is with web builders. But we're gonna go through and start to structure everything correctly. Your main service and your main areas, the sub-services to that. And you also mentioned earlier about, that you went from get health insurance to buy health insurance. Two pieces to that are very, very key that I want people to hone in on is that change, that language change does two things. Not only does it tell Google, hey, we are changing this to a more natural language process, NLP, where somebody would search, which that's also key. And if you're using AI to build out content, throwing in NLP in your prompt really, really helps, because now what you're saying is talk like a person, talk naturally. Talk naturally, and you can even get as specific as talk naturally like somebody from North Carolina. Like again, little slang. That could be a whole other conversation about how we use it. I use it extensively to really, really help lay out structure, lay out a lot of things. And we live in an era now that there is so much free information. It's easy to get overwhelmed, but there is so much free information. There's almost no excuse to not set it up, at least set it up correctly, or to double check. So when we do, like I said, getting back to the on page, going through that, we're structuring all your headlines to make sure that it's sending the right signal to Google, but also that somebody sees, okay, hey, like for example, commercial insurance provider, you can break up all of your stuff into 3 main categories: commercial insurance, or your main ones like general liability, things like that, right? I'm doing that currently with a friend of mine's site.
Right.
Risk assessment, risk management assessment. You can do personal and you can do commercial. So you're usually commercial insurance brokers are also, they do personal, home, and auto. They may want to focus on one, but you can break everything into that. And from there, just think of everything like the hierarchy, right? Like, what's my main thing? What's the sub thing of that? What are the sub things of that? And is there sub things of those too? If you take an extra 20 minutes to lay out a site or what your services, where you want those customers to come from, so your service area, and you write them down in some form or fashion, you can begin to see the structure of your site. And then you can go through, and this is where I really tell people to use AI where you can. There's AI website builders. I'm 50-50 on them. They build good sites, but they're not fast. They do it right. So I would say, if you do, look at that and take that information and copy it over to something. Just a do-it-yourself person. You don't want to pay anybody to do it. I completely get that. You were that, Ryan. You still are that, which is good.
I don't know about AI doing it. I've seen a lot of the AI sites and I've seen like what they can create, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
how
it's
fast it
but
does.
It's amazing.
But
yes,
it doesn't do it wouldn't give you even a full accurate landing page. You would still have to do a lot of work on it.
Yeah.
And then at that point, you'll probably want to redo the website, so it's all you anyway.
Yeah.
Just using it as a template or a guide is not a bad idea.
No, not at all. And you can tell it to do that. I'm building a new WordPress site, and here's a good prompt, right? Like, I'm building a new WordPress site for, let's just say you're a lawyer, an immigration website for Houston, Texas, and I want it to target people who might be needing X services in this area. Create a template for me that can show me the best way. You're an expert marketer and an expert content writer. Please lay out an optimized template, website template for me, and it'll create it. And you're going to see, kind of like what we learned in school, A and then A1, A2, A3. You're going to see what it's going through.
Yeah.
Right? You can get deeper into it with all sorts of different prompts, but that's what I tell people to use. I'm like, save yourself a day's worth of work and just use AI to help you create templates. Because no matter what, no matter how good they are, and I have 3, I use 3 different ones. I have one that's exceptionally good. I pay out the wazoo for it though, because it's really good. And it creates articles that I needed to, and they haven't gotten punished. Not even after this other core update, because they do exactly what they were meant to do and they follow Google's rules. And that's the thing, is you still need to go in and edit. And that's the part of a website too, that people go through and they'll just create some stuff. 9 times out of 10 people end up just creating a digital business card. That's really all it is. And if that's what you want it to be, just so you have some validity and you can show people that, yeah, you're legit, I've got this, I've got that, that's fine. You can still optimize it. I built a website just for fun. It was the very first one I ever did, all for funsies. Yeah. And I built it in July of last year in an extremely competitive niche. And it's sitting after building it, I have not touched it since, except update plugins, and I've changed some stuff. And I think I added a blog post. I added 1 blog to it, and it's sitting on page 3, having done nothing to it. I've done no SEO outside of that. I've not linked it. I've not pushed anything to it. So building a page or even an existing website, doing the proper setup or the proper on page, you can see a result come up. And that in some cases, that's enough. Depending on your area and niche, I'll put that disclaimer there, but that's enough to move it forward. And then you can see, oh, okay, well, if this worked, now there's the 50,000 other things we can do to it to really move it forward, and going from there. But again, it all starts with setting it up correctly and going through. And here's the deal. There's so many different ways to plan keywords. Google has a free one called Keyword Planner Tool. You can literally see the search volume. If you list out all your services, that's the first way to figure out what keywords are going to work for you. And then you can go to Keyword Planner Tool, put them in, and you'll see the search volume. Search volume is another indicator of how much is that thing being researched. The more general the word, the higher volume the research is. But that also means you're pulling from a national database. So you can say
Yep.
health insurance provider, Farmers Branch, Texas, health insurance provider, Dallas, Texas. You're going to see a massive difference in search volume because one's bigger, one's not. But it's you can, as long as there's some there, as long as there's some there, it's not zero, then you can begin to build off of that, especially if you're doing articles, and that's where it goes through. And then from there, there is no, I can tell you, even as a marketer, I get these emails too, and I'm sure people in the group have gotten the DMs. I would say probably the coaches, all the home services guys, because I'm that home service guy sometimes, and even insurance. Hey, I took a look at your website, and I can give you, I made a video. I can shoot it over to you on what I'd fix. Hey, if you've got a good one, just say, hey, listen, I want to check out the free thing. Use their advice. There is no shortage of marketers reaching out to people saying, hey, here's some ideas I would do to fix your website, or I'll give you free on page, or they call it a website audit, an SEO audit. Yep. Take the audit, take the report if they have one, and fix it. You literally use that report and fix it. Now, of course, they're going to try to sell you and do that. That's up to you whether you want to work with them or not. Yep. But take those free reports and use that as something, because they're trying to figure out, okay, based on keyword research, based on your area, you can make some of those changes and go through. And again, there's no shortage of information. I would say articles, if you want to look at good ways to structure things, if you are a do-it-yourselfer or you really want to understand it, the three best places I even get my information from are SEMrush, the articles they create are very, very good. One of the companies that I partner with a lot with really technical stuff is they're called Link Graph. They've produced a lot of really helpful, useful articles. Now, sometimes they tie back to the tool that they have.
What's it called?
Linkgraph.com is another one that I work with them pretty closely.
Okay.
Then Neil Patel, if he's
Ubersuggest.
Ubersuggest is good and it's free. But his articles alone, you can build stuff just off of the articles he's written and some of the things that he talks about, because
even his Instagram reels are great. He's picked it up with that.
Yeah, he's by far one of the best out there. He really is, because he wants people to say, hey, here's all this stuff. If you want more, there's no shortage of people willing to take your money to help you. But here's some stuff that you can understand. Here's why your social post may not work. Here's why your website's not working. Like there's not a subject he has not touched or tested in his own company. So I would say those are good ones.
His I get his newsletters, but he's how I found out about the Google changes with the email marketing, how you have to have like all the other codes on the back end.
Your unsubscribe has to be huge now, like with the way Gmail's changed and Yahoo's changed. So if you have an email list, which I highly suggest for anybody in this group, your money is going to be in your customers, but it's also going to be, as you start to build value, starting to gather that information, building a contact list, building an email list. It's an old saying in the world. It's your money's in the lists. You will see that, and this goes for you own an HVAC company.
Yeah, it goes for
your field management service to grab that. If you own a roofing company, if you own, especially if you do any kind of e-commerce, oh my gosh, guys, you better be gathering that information, and you can then look and see what's capturing people's attention. And you can do that. That's and I'll do a quick little caveat here on a one-off. If you're running any kind of ads, the ads, that's a really good way to also find out, what do I need to be putting on my website to start ranking organically? Because the ads is in your face. People are directly interacting with that. They're saying, yes, I saw this interesting. I saw this here. Okay, how do I start producing that content organically, whether it's on my site or on my social media, to then be getting that stuff for free, so I can then focus my ad efforts elsewhere. What's also not working, those are good ads. You can spend a lot of money, but you can spend a lot of money figuring out what people interact with too, and it helps you organically. We do that a lot too, where you may be running an ad SEO campaign at the same time, and what's nice is we can just take that information and begin to, rather than getting paid per click, you are now just pushing that out, across the world. So it's, again, the website part of it is there, and I would tell people two things. If you really can, stay away from the free web builders if you absolutely can, because they are great. They're very easy to learn, and they can put some really pretty stuff up in the world. But when you want to start pushing that further out, and again, unless it's maybe, I could say to exceptions to like product-based pages or e-commerce, web builders are very, very good. Shopify, obviously, they're probably one of the best ones. Squarespace is very good. But if you're trying to put some stuff out there, and Ryan, you can speak to this personally, going from Wix even to what you did with
transitioning to WordPress, yeah.
There's been a huge difference, not just in that, in what you're allowed to do too. 80% of the ranked websites in the world are WordPress based. The content management numbers speak for themselves. Nobody's even close. It's barely a race for second, even with all the changes.
Yep.
And WordPress sites, I think what scares people is the complexity. Listen, I had no background in website building. I don't know how to code still. There are plenty of themes. I would recommend two, Astra and Cadence. Start with what they call a Gutenberg block builder. Those two themes alone have templates that you can use and learn from and build on and move and work to. They're very, very good from a support structure. And there's tons of people on YouTube that will do step-by-step walkthroughs on those two themes, and they're fast. Yep. So whatever you're building, they're fast. I build most of my sites in Astra or Cadence because they're so quick. I'm learning a new one called Brick Builder. It's a little more complicated, but it's faster than both of those. But again, everybody thinks, oh, if I'm going to do a template website, I got to go to GoDaddy. For the love of God, please don't do that.
Yeah, don't.
Don't try.
I use
you need to get a domain from them. Awesome. I would even recommend Namecheap. They're usually cheaper there, and the services easy to deal with.
I use Namecheap to get domains, but I use Divi theme builder, and then I've also used Elementor. Mm-hmm. Those are the two ones that I've cross paths with in WordPress, and
they're very good. Elementor and Divi have a massive library of templates to use from.
Huge.
They're a little bloated. Divi's a little bit more bloated than Elementor. I've done 50-50. I've started switching everybody from Elementor to the other ones there, mm-hmm. but they are
Astra, right?
Mm-hmm. Those two that you mentioned are very, very good, and they're very, very easy to work with. And
they've just been around for a while, and that's kind of why I went with them. They just kept getting suggested to me, and that's when I just started. So I started my current website just kind of as a play with some settings and do some custom stuff just to test it out for my next website, mm-hmm. and then I ended up just cleaning it up and launching this website as my current website.
Yeah, and it looks great. By the way, I will mention, if you guys haven't, go check out his website, sellinghealthagents.com. No, it is very, very well put together. It gives people the information that they need. And this, you did all that yourself. You did all of that yourself, and so it is possible. It takes some tweaking, because I always tell people, remember, you're going to do two things. Or it's going to cost you two things when you do anything, especially on the marketing world: time or money. So which one do you want to give up? So you got to figure out which one you're willing to give up.
And this is my third website. This isn't my last two websites were in Wix. I could never get it to rank on the first page. It took probably a little over a year to get it to rank. I also mm-hmm. didn't know as much about websites, but I also found out that Wix just didn't have as many capabilities as WordPress does. And also Google, Bing, and all the others don't read Wix websites as good as they do WordPress. Correct. Just because the structure of the websites is just so much better.
Page speed. It doesn't matter how pretty they look if it takes forever to load. That's why people, think of, and I always tell people too, when you're building something and you're putting something together, think about how you search for stuff. Think about how you look at things yourself on your phone. When was the last time you ever went to the second page of Google, or scrolled more than maybe 4 scrolls? Really? When was the last time that you saw a big web builder as a top one that maybe wasn't a forum or a blog-based article,
right?
Or a product-based article, right? Like maybe a service-based. The numbers don't lie. They speak for themselves, because also Google will punish sites that take too long to load. If you take more than 3 seconds to load, you're in a yellow category on a page speed indicator. You need to be between a millisecond and 3. Like you have to be there. It says 4, but you really want to be between 3.
Especially mobile friendly stuff.
Oh God, yeah. That's the other part. Building your sites to be mobile friendly.
Yeah.
I will say that's where it's a little easier. I would, if I had to give Wix and all those guys, Webflow, a thumbs up, that's a little bit better than WordPress.
Interesting.
In terms of being able to see it. The mobile to desktop feature when you're building is easier to navigate, in terms of like, okay, this is what it looks like, and it has a better mobile picture. So
right.
When I'm building an Astra and I look at it from a phone on that, it's pretty good, but it's not as good as if I go deep into it when I actually open the web page, do a right click, inspect, and then look at it from an iPhone 14.
Right.
It does a better job, and some of them do a better job on what it'll actually look like on your phone. So I'll give them that.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I think I think it's just because it's Divi. There's a couple different views as you're building the website, the page. You can click on the views, and it transitions very easily. And then whenever you're editing each field, it's very easy to select what it does with desktop, tablet, and mobile. And then even if it's just making it visible or invisible to mobile users, because there's some things that I don't show on mobile that I do on desktop because it's video. It takes up too much space. It's just it slows it down. So
and is it too much? Because you don't want people reading your site too much. Like that's another thing too. Is if you make somebody read too much, they'll click away. They really will. So yeah, having those features to hide and come through what it looks like on your site. Because some people will tell you too, like, hey man, I saw I was looking at your website on my phone and it didn't have this, but when I went on my computer, it does that. Well, yeah, because I hid those features. I need to get the most pertinent information to mobile users, which is 70. I think the number is now 76% of all searches are done on phone now. So
I want to say my search is, I want to say it's like 60% mobile right now, which I think is still pretty low. I think it's actually higher than that, but it tells me 60%.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mobile friendly. What do you think is a trend that's kind of hitting the market right now that will kind of take off in website building, or kind of the experience that people are trying to feel? Because maybe 8 years ago, the hero image with a moving video, the second it loads up, that was like the thing. Now it feels like that is kind of going away. What do you see something hitting now that might be staying a little bit longer than you would expect?
The biggest one is AI. I mean, it is the biggest trend. I wouldn't even say trend. It's not even a trend. It is now a standard. But what we're seeing is the wrong AI content, the wrong AI structure can be just as detrimental as before it came out, right? Like what we were saying with that. Because like you said, having a flashing picture and some information, and then going through and doing informational text is kind of a big thing. Now what you're seeing is what I would call like maybe smoother sites, where it's like you're getting straight to the point. You're seeing more and more of those hero sections. And for everybody, a hero section is the very first giant bar of a website. We call that the hero section. That you're seeing more and more.
That. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's the H1, which is your main service, your main area, maybe a small description or talking a little bit about you. Hey, 10 years in business, covering, the Houston area, family owned, all that stuff, right? And now you're seeing calls to action at a much more higher pace and in a higher position as well. So telling people, hey, listen, if you are looking for this and you are in this area, here's a form or here's a way you can get in contact me with right now. Because if that's all somebody needs, then you want to capture that. Right. So you're seeing some of that now, and some of it, depending on your industry too, you do still need a little bit of flash. Like for example, the med spa and aesthetic clinic that I'm working on, we're doing a little bit more flash at the top. The solar company that we're almost done with a website for, there's a lot of video on some of the projects they have, kind of showing into the areas that they cover, because they do more than just put panels on your house. And they talk about this. They kind of, you share that customer journey, right? Like you're kind of saying, hey, we're not just somebody who goes and knocks on your door asking if you've heard the good word of solar today. it's are you going to do this here? Here's some of the things that we're doing, and these are our actual projects. Oh, by the way, this is a panel farm we built in Nepal, kind of things, right? So you do have some of those stories, and I would say the trend moving forward is, I think some of the AI website builders are going to kind of burn out a little bit as they get too bloated, like you do see with so many other ones. But what you're going to see more of is we're moving away from just having one or two pages that just, if your business can be explained in 1 or 2 pages, especially in the competitive niche, then go right ahead, do it, build it. It's fast, it's easy, and it'll get people the information they need. But the 2-part we're seeing is an expansion of those services. So now you're seeing the typical 3 or 4 page site be 5, 10, 12 pages, because hitting those individual services and building information in those pages can rank by themselves. So you like, say you're a roofer, one of the most competitive industries online and in general. I mean, everybody and their mother seems to be roofing all the time. Going into, what signs do I need a new roof? Why does insurance do this, doing that, and answering those questions and having those service pages on that individually are key now to going into that. Because when somebody does a search, they may not land on your homepage, but they may land on that individual blog article or that. It's been happening for a while, but the quality of that thing can get that content, that headline, that question answered is what's going to get you, more and more attention. And I would say,
right, organic.
Yeah. And figuring out, Google's already told us, you need to figure out how to be part of the search generative engine, the SGE, the answers, because you can have it, you can be one of the answers that the generative AI creates. So again, really, I would tell people that the amount of time you've been in an industry is now more valuable than ever.
You're talking about like those top 3 or top 5 answers that are usually towards the top of the search. Okay.
Yep. Or when you see it, it says generative AI creating an answer, and then all of a sudden you start to see it spit out an answer.
Yeah.
Those are more and more becoming people's actual sites. They're grabbing the piece of information off of a site that they've done. They followed Google's rules, which are EEAT, and that's experience, expertise, authority, and trust. So you've hit all those qualities. You've created quality content. You've made it easy to read and easy to do. So it'll parse out some of your information and put it there, and it'll link to your site. Like, hey, top 8 whatever's, right? Top 8 ways to lose weight or anything like that, right? Those are some of the things coming in. So I would tell people what's in your head and what you've learned over the years in your industry, or what you've learned in your industry and you're now applying to a new business. Start putting that down and writing pieces out, because that is now gold. That is now gold big time on Google.
Right.
They're rewarding expertise and natural ways to answer that more than ever. No longer is it, let me get on Chat GPT and create, write me a 1,000-word article, copy, barely edit it, copy, paste it, and is that going to get ranked? They've already said that's going to start getting pushed down. And so, but going through, and you can use Chat GPT to help you create the outline of your page.
Right. Or even the headers.
Yeah. And then the headers too. If people want to get more into writing their own content that ranks or having better ideas, I've got a couple of pieces of software. There's the high end. If you're willing to pay for it, these guys, even after the core update, none of their articles, none of their websites that they've written stuff for went down or were affected. So they put their money where their mouth is.
That's awesome.
You pay for it, but if you need 2,500 word articles or 2,000 word articles, or even structure of your site put together, and you don't want to get slapped around by Google, because it follows all the rules of not only what Google's asking, but the way people search, then these are tools that you can use. And so I use one of them on the back end when I'm creating content for my customers. And so it's just one of those, your expertise now pays, I would say, is the big theme, is the new trend. Is everybody wants to be a coach or a consultant sometimes, right? Like, hey, I'm going to go do this because I have all this knowledge. Well, start putting some of that knowledge down and posting it on the internet with whatever you're doing, because you're going to start to see, hey, this is being rewarded here, and you can put that together. So everybody out there that has especially years in the business, on what's working, what's not. The last talk you did with Eric, he talked about telling that story. turning that cold prospect into a warm one. You can do the exact same thing online with your knowledge, and put it down on your site, because that's Google has clearly said we are going to reward that. So, but you can't be in 2024 without a website and expect to go anywhere. I can't say it enough. I know there's a lot of people that will say, well, I can do this. And if you only want word of mouth and warm referrals are the best way to do it, and that's all you want to work with, and you just need like a quick throw up page, do it. Do that. That's easy, but you can't not have it now. And that's still a topic of conversation.
People use it as a point of authority to like verify the legitimacy of a business or an individual. There's been a handful of times where I met someone, networked with them, and then looked up their website, and it was absolutely horrible, and I judged them for it. That's just kind of what we do as professionals. I think for the most part, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
It's I can't remember who said that quote, but I think about it a bunch, and that's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah. If you're this too, just ask if you're stuck somewhere, ask, ask people. If you're in local groups and there's no shortage of marketers in your group. So, I know you can get flooded. Your DMs can get flooded. Hey, I can do this. Hey, I can do that.
Happens to everyone.
Go off the person that provides the most value and ask some questions. They're going to give you enough to say, okay, here's some stuff for you to go get done, but I'm not going to give you everything for free. Because even I'm that way. I love answering questions in all the different groups that I'm in. Yeah. Some of it's self-serving. I will say, hey, yes, I would like to work with this person if they're a good fit, but you're asking a question and I can see that all I see is sent you a DM, sent you a DM, sent you a DM. Here's some things, like one of the pressure washing groups I'm in. I don't even know why I'm in it, but I think I was helping somebody and I was like, well, let me just join this group.
Right.
Hey, I'm doing this kind of marketing. What are people seeing? What are ways I can help? Here's 4 things. If you're not on your here's 2 things for your profile. Here's 2 things for your social media. Hey, by the way, I noticed on your website, it does this, this, and this. Just change these things and there you go. Hopefully this helps. It takes me a little bit to write it, but I'm not going to sit there and try to get in a DM conversation with you because I don't even know if you're a fit for me, but it's one of those, there's enough information out there and there's enough people willing to give it for you to give yourself enough to go do it. There was
a guy, he does something similar. It's slightly different than what you do, but how he sent his audit or whatever to kind of not lure them in, but to kind of open up the topic of conversation and share the knowledge. He wouldn't even type or anything. He just did a screen share, just scrolled through the website, said things he would change, things that should be done differently. And I think it was maybe a 5-minute video. And then that was his form of outreach. And he's had a lot of success with it, but it's just, it's pretty interesting.
I still do that sometimes too. And or I'll ask a simple question like, hey, are you looking to grow your business? Are you busy enough right now? Do you want to, I try to place the question like, hey, are you looking to do this? Or are you looking to do that? Because if it's no, I'm not going to spend 20 minutes, reshooting a screen edit and doing all of that. Now, some of it does speak to it. Sometimes I'll show my face, say, hey, my name is Courtland. I do this. I saw your site. I saw that you're here, here, and here. By the way, your site's not doing this or this. I don't know if that's something you're trying to get business for, because you have a lot of people, like a friend of mine, for example, he's there in Dallas. He showed me, he goes, is this pretty common? And he showed me a pretty bad interaction with a marketer doing some outreach, but he was also kind of, poking the bear. And he's like, so you're saying my website's ugly? And I'm like, see right there, I would have told you, yes, it is. If what you're trying to do is get customers, it's absolutely ugly. If you like it because you like the way it looks, then no, it's not ugly. But if you want Google and people to see you, yes, it is. It's just one of those, I look at websites as a marketer, not as that. And I will tell you, rule number 1 for everybody out there, do not fall in love with your website. That is the don't break rule number 1.
Oh, I did that on my second website. I was
fall in love with it, man.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yes, I remember that. And I was so happy when you told me you switched, because I was like, man, you cannot fall in love with your website. You can't.
That's why I didn't jump to WordPress forever, because I was in love with my website.
Yeah, you can't do it because it needs to be changed. It needs to be adapted. You can fall in love with a 1967 Camaro and love it the way it is. I'd say that because there's one in my garage from my dad. Thank you. Like from passing it down. You can fall in love with that. And then you can change it if you want to, but your website needs to be able to be flexible and adaptable. And I know it's hard when you, especially when you put all the blood, sweat, and tears into the site yourself. And maybe you, and I know there's a lot of people out there too that have probably had a really bad experience with the web builder. Hey, it's only going to cost you $189 a month. We'll do a little bit of work, digital marketing on it. And then they hold your site hostage. I still to this day do not understand that model of paying a little bit of money. I understand if you're on a monthly payment schedule and you're paying off the website, that's different. That's, it's like paying off a car. But continuing to hold somebody's website hostage, I've never understood that web building model. I don't know how it's still alive. I don't know. Good questions to ask, I would say, is, do I own my website after you're done?
That's actually
do
solid.
this, we do that. Yeah, no. Always ask, do I own the asset when you're done?
Yep.
Great, cool. Now, if you want their continued help and support, allow them, then figure out what the login details look like with that. Always ask for your login details. Always ask for what host they're using, how to log into everything. So that way, no matter what, they cannot hold it hostage. When you start to see resistance on that, I would tell you run for the hills, really.
Right.
Because it just happened to a friend of mine in one of my digital marketing groups. He did some really good work. The person liked it. They saw the rankings move up. He told the web builder who was doing marketing for them that they were going to be moving in a different direction. And now all of a sudden they're a 403 forbidden. So he's either deleted the site or he's locked it away completely. And it happens a lot. I don't know why, but always own the asset. That's the number one question. Oh, when you're done, cool, great. That sounds good. Do I own it? Oh, well, no, it sits on our thing. Well, no, I really want to own it. So what do I have to do to get that? Oh, well, then they'll tell you, well, it's going to cost you, if you're paying us $189 a month to do this, or $350 a month, and we're doing updates and doing all that, then there is, if you want to buy the site, it's going to be an additional $500 or $600 to buy it out. That's up to you whether you want to do that or not.
Yeah.
But you got to ask those questions, because I guarantee the people that are doing that kind of stuff are not going to tell you up front.
And then you got to worry about the certificate and everything.
Yeah.
For the SSL and everything.
Yeah. SSL certificates are free. Okay. They're free. They're usually with your host. You can get one for free through your host. You can get one for free on Cloudflare. They're free. So secure your site, the HTTPS, but yes, just make sure you have in all your login credentials. And I would say if you get login credentials, I know I tell people, I'm like, if you want to change the password, great, just update it. Make me an editor or whatever on the back end, and you can update it and let me know. And then as soon as I'm done and we're done, you can kick me off and it's yours. I have no desire to hold people's websites that I built for them. I really don't. So
how can people get in touch with you? Email, calls?
Messenger on Facebook Messenger. I like to respond to those. They can email me, cs@redfox.com or redfoxdm.com is my email.
Okay.
If you're in the group, please, you can tag me in a post. You can ask me a question. I don't mind looking at stuff for people and saying, hey, here. I'll get to you as soon as I can to do that. But I never don't answer a question. It might just be a little bit. I might say, hey, give me a little bit and I can get that for you. Because like you said earlier, I am not pharma taught me. I may not know everything, but I'm going to find somebody who does. If a doctor asked me a question that was, I knew why they were asking. It was more of a smokescreen question than anything. But if I came back and said, oh yeah, by the way, I talked with Dr. So-and-so, who's an expert, and you've read some of his published papers, and I got it to him and he told me this, or within my business, I'm in a BNI group, so I network a lot. So if I know there's something that I can't do, and I network with other digital marketers, like, hey man, I can't really do this. Is that an area that you work in? Oh yeah, I have a friend that does Facebook ads specifically for that industry. You want me to put you in touch with him? Absolutely, great. I might have a lead for him too, because I don't do that. I don't feel confident enough that I could give the customer what they're asking. But let me talk to your guy and get a feel for him and see if he's somebody I want to put in front of my customer. So I like having that and having those things. And I love helping. I really do love helping people kind of get an idea, because you begin to see how not easy sometimes marketing can be when you give people enough to show them as well. Like, hey, this is going to be involved, but I'm glad you want to take some initiative and learn on your own, because it's good
Right.
to know, enough. So
when someone's building their website, besides ChatGPT and templates and keywords, what do you think would provide the most value to a website?
Oh, easily what the top ranking sites are already doing.
Yeah.
If you want, I mean, when I ask somebody for a site, give me your top 3 competitors, or the top 3 that you give me some sites. Like when we're doing structure, how do you want it to look? These kind of themes and these colors. What are 3 sites that you like, or what are 3 sites I'll go do my own research on the site as on their industry as well, to see who's ranking in numerous different cities. But that is literally the easy. Don't reinvent the wheel.
That's where I copy mine.
Yeah, it's go through and see who's already doing it and doing it well, and pull ideas from what they're doing, spin it to your message, to your service. Even if it's the exact same thing, spin it to your message, how you would talk about it, how you would explain it, or clean it up if it's too long or whatever, right? But yeah, that is literally the easiest place to look, is go see who's already doing it, and you'll be surprised. You might go on and say, man, this is a really ugly website. How is this ranking? It could be that it's a 10-year-old website, and Google's given it the trust and authority because it's been there for a long time. It's got some links going in.
That's the one that I showed you yesterday.
Yeah.
Or yesterday or the day before. It's plain Jane, but it's loaded with SEO.
It is, and it's done exactly what people are asking it. It's giving me information in my area on what I'm asking for. So I tell people, and you would even get it from me, hey, go tell me who in your industry online is already killing it, and we're gonna work a little bit off of that too, because again, we can build something brand new and custom for you. But when it comes to marketing it, again, do not reinvent the wheel. Just look and see what's going in and go through.
Yep. I tried to reinvent it too much with my first and second website, and then just went with whatever. Well, not whatever. I just copied a bunch of different strategies from other websites, but my top 2 competitors are healthcare.gov and eHealth Insurance. Healthcare.gov gets like, I don't know, 1 million visitors a month, and then eHealth gets 440,000 visitors a month, something around that.
Yeah.
So that's why I found them, was trying to copy them, because I didn't know that you could even look up traffic or amount of traffic. But there's also logins, so they get logged into. There's reoccurring customers. With my website currently, there's no login yet. So people are only just going there to get the quote, not going there to return for information or anything like that. And then that's when I started doing the blogs and all that stuff for more information. And then we talked about it earlier, but the type of blogs that I've been trying to write are more like guides or introduction or my first this and what to expect or whatever. So it's a lot more information and experience to really drive knowledge. Also, I saw a lot of with all the research that I was doing, Google feeds traffic to information sources.
Correct.
And when your website is not information based or doesn't have a lot of information to dive into, it's never going to get ranked as an informational source. And that's something that I really tried to change from my first and second to my third website.
Well, that's what they're calling low quality content now, right? Like if you're just throwing some stuff against a wall and you're giving a real high level answer, you're giving search generated based answers, like just real high level stuff. Yeah, you're not going to get much from it. And you hit on something earlier too, and that is when you're creating stuff that's informational, don't forget to ask for their business, whether that's an email or whether that's that. You can sprinkle calls to action. That is part of the website structure too, that I always tell people, make sure that people have a way to get in touch with you and you're intriguing them enough to give you some piece of information. Because it's no until you ask. And if people have to look on how to contact you or how to get in touch with you, then you've already lost. Like you need to be, it's okay to do like a hero section and then an informational, then a call to action.
And
Then
it's a
informational,
good,
then a call to, yeah, it's okay to do that. You know, if you haven't,
yeah,
you know, hey, you want to get in touch with us on an app? Here you go. Here's how you do this. You need a claim. Boom. You can put them to those pages too. But
it's a
yeah,
good
the
funnel.
information, yeah, exactly. You can build that funnel out, but the
Mhm.
informational piece of it is becoming more key because again, it's, you know, as long as you're producing quality content, quality being your expertise coming into it, some of the edit, again, you can use AI to write you an article. I'm not saying you can't and break it up.
Right.
Absolutely go edit it, run it through a content spinner. If you want to check to make sure it looks like it's written by a human, um, AI checker, you can just put an AI checker, AI content score, and you can do some ones there. I think content at scale is one that I use that's really good, and it'll tell you how human it is. But you need to be editing that information, putting it all together to do that. Yeah.
I use GPT-0 and a couple others. Undetectable is another one.
That's a good one.
But I've used it more on trying to figure out if a website was built using AI or not, or like if certain posts were made. Because I know what I use it for. I don't even use it all the time, and everything is rephrased where I kind of use it as mainly for outlining and
Mhm.
making sure that I don't leave anything behind or leave anything really important out. It's almost like just using it as a mental game to double check, but
Yeah,
ChatGPT,
and the AI checkers can be inaccurate
yeah.
too. Like I put in
Oh yeah, yep,
quote from Henry Thoreau, and it came back as not written. I'm like, dude, that's literally like his own words.
yeah,
Like, how do you mean it's not? What do you mean it's not human created? It was written. You know, you have the database. Like, how do you not know that that's his information? So it can be, you know, a little deceptive, but again,
right.
it's important that you talk the way a person would, and I would say this in any AI prompts that you're using sprinkling in NLP or human centric, using the words human centric content will help make it sound more natural,
Oh
like a
yeah,
human talking. So keep that in mind for anybody that's out there using that information, including your social media posts, because I know there's a lot of information going there. Your Google business profile posts, you can
that's
stick
big.
those in and go through. But yeah, so that's you know, I know we're coming up on some time here, so
Yeah, no, you're
again,
good.
there's so much you can do for this, but again, I would say highlights are structure your site. You can use AI to structure your site. Make sure your headlines are in line, talking about the services you provide and where you provide them, breaking them in. But all starting, you can start that journey with looking at some of the top ranking websites in your industry, in not only just your area, but look in other areas too. Like, say you're a suburb of a big city, look at some of the ones that are ranking. You might get the location pages, the sub pages of somebody in, like for your example, you're in Farmers Branch. You might get a lot of people from Dallas or Fort Worth because that's
Right.
the big area. That's where they're based out of. But you can still look at some of that breakdown. But let's say you're in, you know, Topeka, Kansas. You can look at and see what's going on there, but you can also look at other places, other cities. I think people forget, like, hey, let me get out of my zone here. What's ranking really well in a city of my size in Texas, in California, in North Carolina, in Georgia? You can look at different places and say, oh, okay, well, this is what's ranking well too, because you might actually find that jewel. When I was building out an HVAC site for somebody, I found a jewel of a site in Austin that was number 4. He's now number 2. And his site it's informative, it's very well SEO optimized, and it's simple. But I used it as a basis for, okay, this is what good looks like. So start there and then begin to structure your site out. Put in your calls to action. Make sure you're linked well to, if it's a form, it's going to the right email. And no matter what you guys do, please, please, please be head and shoulders above your competition and follow up with people if they reach out to you, whether it's on your Google business profile, on your social media, or any forms or calls that you have on your site. You reach out. Do not leave them hanging if it's a customer, not a spammer or a marketer, obviously, right?
Right.
But yeah, so I can't stress that enough in the world of everything we do. I could build you, I can hand you the keys to a Ferrari, but if you don't know how to open the door, or you keep scratching the door when you open it, it's not gonna go well. So
Right.
that's what I would say.
Man, there's just so many different. We could probably keep talking for a couple
Oh yeah,
hours.
yeah. No, it's not a subject that can be siloed into one thing. But like I said, the best place to start is look at what your competition's already doing.
Yep, and
Because I
YouTube.
guarantee they looked at their competition, and then they look. It's a rebuilding, and save yourself some time.
Yeah,
Save yourself some time and look
yep,
to see what's working. Some of
and
the AI tools that I use take titles, descriptions, and SERP data of what's already working, and then build out from there.
right.
So even AI, the tools that are being created are not reinventing the wheel.
And
So
honestly, the bigger the company, the more they spent on their website. They spent millions and millions, maybe even tens of millions, doubtful if it's hundreds of millions, but they spent a lot of money on creating the website, even figuring out the color, the picture, the hero image, the text. They figured all that out. You
yeah,
don't need to go and copy and paste it word for word, but you can do something pretty darn similar.
hmm two
Um,
screens. I would suggest if you don't already, run two screens on whatever it is you're doing, so you can have something up and then look at what you're doing. I have three.
yeah,
I run three personally. I would love to run four, and yes, I can work on four. It's not too distracting,
right.
uh, but it's it's there for a reason. It's being rewarded for a reason. Now, sometimes well, I would say less now than ever, but there's stuff on there that you can use and work. And you're like, oh yeah, I do that too. Oh, I didn't even think I could do that. Yeah, put that in and start to see how it looks, and then start
Yep.
to build out from there. Again, and I say don't reinvent the wheel. Be original in some of your stuff and your content, because what's eventually going to happen is so much AI content is put out there that it's just spinning itself off of content that's already been created by AI, and AI creates AI, and AI, that we can get into the ramifications of what AI content is going to do down the line. But for the
Um,
time being, you can still look at what's working and create your own stuff using AI to create the headlines and give you the
right.
structure, and you fill it in and go from there. But yeah, um, there's no reason that you can't do it yourself, and especially on WordPress too. Again, I can't stress enough, you can build it on a WordPress site. Really
Yeah.
try to do that.
WordPress, I ranked very quickly whenever
Mhm.
I transitioned over to WordPress.
Yeah.
Um, I know part of it had to do with my Google profile, but
Mhm. Yeah.
still
Yes.
knowing that it ranked it just as fast as it did in the previous years, it took Wix over a year to rank. WordPress took 60 days.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
make sure
then,
it indexes. And there's other things once you build the site, the technical stuff that you got to get into.
oh
But again,
yeah,
don't cross that bridge until you get to it. One of the new things that I said, and I think I put it up on my Facebook the other day: simple scales, complex fails.
yep, I saw
That
that.
goes the
Yep,
business, that whatever it is you're trying to do, simple scales. The more complex it gets, the more likelihood it has to fail.
I
Um,
did.
so
I
yeah,
did the KISS acronym.
yeah, it's the new way to say. And no, I
Keep it
didn't take
simple,
it from
stupid.
Hormuzzi. He said, what is it? Simple scales, fancy fails. Like, I love Hormuzzi. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I love Formosa. Yeah,
But yeah, so it is true though. The
yeah,
take it down to its simple. If you're gonna take time to do something, take an idea and a keyword and a structure down to its simplest idea. Oh, and also you can tell you can tell AI to write it in an eighth grade format,
yeah.
a high school format, a college education format, depending on your industry. I see some people in the group, especially some of the finance guys, writing some really good bits of information that need to be high level. They need to
Hmm.
be high level because you're dealing with high level topics,
Right.
uh, and you're dealing with with money. You're dealing with finances, so it needs to be clearly explained, and that can get a um, little philosophical. What is it? Not philosophical. It can get a little academic, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
trying to do, but it has to be. If you're a doctor writing, putting stuff out, it needs to be kind of high level.
yeah. If you want to get to the next level, it's what you have to do. You have to
Exactly.
be a little relentless in pursuit, but um, don't want to take up too much more of your time. I appreciate you coming on.
No
Um,
problem. Thank you for having me. I'd love to help, and glad we're with this group. I know starting with you from the beginning was fun, and seeing it
yeah.
now over 8,100. I remember our first meetings, like, man, if we can just get to 3,000, that'll be a big stone for us. And then
Man,
three, then five, and now eight. More, and then the more we come
yeah.
into, and seeing the group grow too, with the questions that people are asking and the things that are going in, you know, can't encourage people enough to just interact, because there's a lot of smart people in this group that are really, really willing to help. I think when you get into Facebook groups that show their value, not just posting services all day, every day, trying to get business, but people actually adding value to what we're doing and answering questions, the more interaction is going to come in. Because those are the groups that I'm a part of, are when there's people actually interacting. Yeah, you can sell a service every now and then, you can promote yourself every now and then, but when it's like, no, I'm getting value out of this because I'm getting questions answered, I'm learning new tactics, or I'm seeing new things, or I'm meeting new people, network within the group itself,
right,
that are helping me take the next step in my business. I would definitely, I'm glad to see it, you know, growing in that direction.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting to see where it goes, and we've done pretty good, still keeping it pretty reasonably safe, less spam.
Trying. Oh, they keep trying, man.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's definitely a lot of people still getting banned, which isn't a big deal. Once they're banned, they're banned. They can't come back, and no affiliated profiles or anything could join either. So they'll get weeded out eventually. But
yeah.
Anyway, man, thanks for coming on.
No, thank you. Appreciate it, Ryan. And hope
have a solid week.
You too. Everybody else out there, have a good one as well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Awesome. I appreciate it, everyone. Thanks for jumping on. Later.